All right, my friends, Coach Roel here with my friend Brooke Shang. Welcome, Brooke. How are you today?
Fantastic. Yourself?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for taking the time. So, I want to kind of want to just jump right in. Brooke is an illustrious author. Now, congratulations on your book. I see the
Thank
book
you.
in the background there, as well as a bona fide real estate investor. So, what I wanted to kind of get kind of jump right in, Brooke, is
Sure.
how did this whole real estate thing start for you? Where did the conversation begin? When did you first have, like, I guess, the idea of maybe I could start investing in real estate? Where did that start? Take me back.
Well, I have to go back in 2000. I read the book Rich Dad. I didn't do anything about it. It made sense. However, life was okay because my husband and I both we had stable income. We live a pretty normal life, middle income, stable job. So I didn't really take action. Sometimes being too comfortable is not good because
Yeah.
and yeah, you're thinking about what I could lose and everything. At the time when I started, well, that's actually how we met. When I started taking the education, I thought, well, I'm already 40. I should really do something because it's approaching retirement. And we did the right thing. We saved RSP and we have very little left at the end of the year because we contributed and we have to pay tax too. Then
Yeah.
I thought, okay, there must be something better. And we owned a condo that was in our home. So the condo was a rental property, which was our home before. That
Okay.
was basically our start. It wasn't doing much. It's still a rental. So I thought I want to start doing it right and start taking different courses and start the education. So that's how
Hmm.
I started.
So a little bit of context. So back in 2000, you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and both you and your husband were professionals, employed, or
In 2000, I was. However, later on, I stayed at home with my kids for 10 years. So during
okay.
that time, I wasn't working. I was just
Yeah.
staying at home. It was very busy though. Don't take me
Oh
wrong.
yeah, for sure.
Having young kids and volunteer in school, I enjoy that because I also made a lot of good friends, mommy friends who are gonna be who are my friends forever, like for life.
Yeah.
However, once they're in school full day, I'm like, okay, so what do? I don't have to volunteer every day. They don't need me as much. So I went back to work actually.
Okay.
And I was lucky because I got a job. I pretty much right go back to exactly my same job, the same level, nothing changed. So
Mm-hmm.
I was able to continue my career, luckily, because a lot of people think, oh, you're out of the market for 10 years. What are you going to do? So I
Mm-hmm.
was pretty lucky that way. So my husband, well, he was making good money. So we were okay with one income.
Right.
And yeah, so when I started working, I'm like, okay, now I'm back again. So within probably the first year I started working, I looked into real estate.
Okay. How did the condo end up? So you used to live in the condo. Was it on was it on purpose? Was it a strategic move to keep it? Have you always wanted to do that? Or was it like, did you just kind of happen to have a
Um,
rental?
we just happened to have a rental. That was our first home.
Okay.
And then we moved to, well, a house as the kids got a little bit older. We want them to be on the ground. We still live in not a very big house in Toronto,
Yeah.
but the point is we want to have a home, or I mean on the ground, not in the
Yeah.
condo anymore. So I think a lot of people pretty much do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We call it accidental landlord sometimes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then so that you had that condo, was it easy? Was it difficult? Like, you didn't have education at that point, right?
No, actually, you know what? I think it's emotional attachment because I didn't want to let go. That was our
Oh,
home, and we still have a lot of friends. They were our neighbors in the condo, right? So we didn't want to let go. I think that's why we still kept it.
uh-huh.
Hmm.
And then
Emotional.
so you were renting it out for how long until you started really taking the real estate investing thing serious? How long did you have that for?
Not that long, actually, probably 2 years since we moved to our current home. And
Okay.
we took equity out of both properties to start investing. So that actually helped. I think we were lucky. Well, we were in our 40s already. So both property accumulated some equity for us to start.
Mm-hmm.
However, everybody gets to the point where you reach the maximum, you cannot qualify anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to look for JVs
Okay. But
and
wait, there's a
expertise.
part where you got the education. Was that did you like seek out education because you were stuck, or was it just I want to grow a huge empire and want to learn from the best? Like what was your how what influenced you in deciding to go the education route? Because a lot of people learn are just they don't take any formal education. They're able to do fine in real estate.
Hmm.
So what was the deciding factor for you to go the route of formal education?
I think one thing is I didn't start that young, so I want to fast track what I was
Ah,
doing.
yeah.
And I've always believed in education because even, for my career, or I did go to MBA and I did the right thing as an Asian kid. So I do believe in education. I don't get why, if you're an accountant, you're a certified financial planner, you get educated. And real estate is so expensive. Why don't people get educated? That doesn't make
Right.
sense. Yeah. And do it right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. What was the biggest surprise for you when you got formally educated? Like, for example, when I did the same thing, we got formal education. I thought being a CFP, it was like I thought I knew everything and anything and everything already about personal finances, but boy, was I wrong. So,
Mm.
did you go through something similar where it's like, oh wow, I didn't even know. I knew I didn't know some stuff, but I didn't realize I didn't know all of this stuff. Did you go through something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, because I did go through MBA. I actually took CFP. I'm just short of taking the exam, and I thought,
Don't
we have a
bother.
very good financial planner. What's that?
Don't bother. You're doing great without it.
I still have friends who I took the classes together doing it. I mean, I thought, yeah, like I read Rich Dad. It all makes sense. I just want to see how.
Yeah.
So the education was pricey. I admit it's. However, it comes back. I don't know what the ROI is because we're still doing it, right? It's
Right.
infinite still. Yeah. So the main thing is when I read Rich Dad, yeah, it makes sense. However, we're doing okay and we follow the wrong way. We save, we contribute to RSP. However, I do feel we were tight because
Yeah.
we still have to pay tax and there's always more expenses with family and kids.
Mm-hmm.
So my aha moment, I think, is yeah, it actually worked. Because then even in the basic class, you understand how that works. They show us how money works and kind of change our behavior too. Like for example, just look at the return. Don't look at how expensive things are. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I tell you you can make $1 million, if you have to find half a million, you'll find a way to find it. But at that time, I was only thinking, okay, we just save and then wait till I can afford another property. It doesn't work. Then I didn't understand. Then how can people expand, right? Until I took the class, and I remember in
Mm.
Rich Dad, I also said, okay, act like the bank. I was in the bank. Then how do I do it? So in class, like we kind of have a sneak peek of how it was like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So I thought, okay, I'll invest and see more.
Right. Right. And so
Mhm.
then after your training, your formal training, what was your first what did your first creative deal or I guess intermediate advanced type of deal? What did that look like?
I was pretty lucky actually. I know some people took some time to get their deal. My first deal was probably only 2 months into the program, and I was with my peers. Back then,
Oh
it was
wow.
in the hotel room. We were
Mm-hmm.
sitting at the same table, and the person sitting next to me just said, "I have a deal. This is my idea." I thought I like it, and I was his first JV, and he was my first deal. That was the first deal. It wasn't that creative. Um, you don't know what you don't know. So what we wanted to do is use RSP and try different things that we heard. And then once we started, we realized the deal was too small. RSP doesn't make sense, etc. We still made good profit out of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I have my first deal on the resume. That was my first deal.
So was
And
it a straightforward rental? Did you have to renovate it all or
yeah, it's a
single
buy, rent, and
family?
hold.
Okay.
Hmm. And it was income property. So that's what the class taught us that we were sitting
Mm-hmm.
in. It was a 3 bedroom. It needed some work. We converted to a 4 bedroom house. It was easy because it basically just add a drywall and that was about it. There's enough room in the house. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time I started, um, my husband wasn't investing with me in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So that house I qualified by myself. So it was a very cheap house. It's and
Where
I
was it? To put in context, because you live in Toronto, the land of sky high real estate prices. So, where was this first deal of yours?
Windsor.
Windsor. Okay. And
Yeah,
Windsor, for those who don't know, who may be watching, how would you compare the two Toronto market compared to Windsor market?
it's about 4 hours away. It's at the border. So when people think about the border, it's close to Detroit, and people think, well, then what's there in terms of
Hmm.
industry? At the time I invested, actually a lot of people say don't go there. There's no appreciation. Didn't seem like a right market. I thought there was cash flow, which we were taught to do, even if there's
Yes.
no appreciation. Yeah, and it's something I could afford. I think the house is it's probably exactly 3 years now. I sold the house last year, and Windsor is booming, as everybody knows now. At the time,
Hmm.
I just thought, okay, there's cash flow. I can afford the renovation, and let's do it. The rent makes sense. And
Can
yeah,
you
my
share some of the numbers, or is that like confidential? It's okay either way.
no, we bought it for 113. Put $5,000 into just adding the extra room, and the rent was 1,200.
Oh, very good.
So we still have the 1% rule back then.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then so you held it and you rented it, cash flowed it for 3 years?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years. Actually, I sold it sooner than I sold it. Sometimes I don't know, I think you talk about that in your book too. You want money to flow.
Hmm.
And before I learned about investing, I thought we just hold it for 20 years. And
Right.
now, as we grow, we kind of have to pivot and look at our portfolio annually to say, okay, is this property still make sense? Is this investment still fitting my goal? So we keep changing,
Hmm.
selling and buying. So yeah. So I sold it
But with
last
this
year.
this first one you sold it for, then how much were you able to sell it for?
We had an agreement. So basically, that's a creative part. So I only sold it for 120 something, 128, I
Okay.
think. Yeah, I think that was last year. I think probably now it's 160 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the important thing was you were cash flowing positively the
Hmm.
whole time you had it.
The whole time I had it, yeah. I think whoever takes it, just the past few months, you know how crazy it is, probably
Yeah.
appreciated a lot. Yeah. However, in terms of the rent increased a bit, probably not the same percentage as the appreciation of the property.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Okay. And then so that was your first deal after the formal education. What was the inspiration for your book? How did that come about?
I journal anyway, so I always have the thought of writing a book. Actually, I went to the seminar with my son on his on career day. I still have a day job, so I took him to my day job in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I'm like, you have to know how to be an entrepreneur too. So on
Hmm.
that day, there was a seminar about get your book done. So I
Yeah.
went with him. And then I was talking to him about system and things like that. So I thought I always wanted to write a book. This is actually not the first time I went to the seminar, but I think I wasn't ready then. And
Hmm.
yeah. And then I thought, okay, if the system works, I'm willing to give it a shot. So actually, he did a book too. We did it together.
How old's your son?
He's 15 now. He did the book last year. So when he was 14.
That's great. And it's
Yeah. So
completed?
yeah, we completed about the same time.
Hmm.
But because there is post production, so his book came
Yeah.
out a little bit later because I was doing my editing, my formatting, putting it on Amazon, etc. So his book was out shortly after mine.
Hmm. So
Yeah,
I have once here again. There's your beautiful book. It's like having another child, isn't it? And you feel really proud to see someone else holding your book. So it's called Financial Freedom: The Royal Way. I can actually read on video. 7 Commandments from the Networking Queen of Real Estate. What would you want people to get out of this? What's the one or two things that, and feel free to brag because this is your spotlight, you know.
yeah.
What one or two amazing things are people going to get out of this book, or would you like them to get from your book?
Even if they get just 1 or 2 points, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think what I really like is then people told me I put it into perspective. So don't just jump into real estate. I put a lot emphasis on the mindset Sometimes
Uh-huh.
people flip to the chapter with the strategy and explain how different strategy works. And I like the fact that people told me, well, surprisingly, I actually spent more time on the mindset versus the strategy. So I love that. That's
Mm-hmm.
the part I really loved.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the message I'm hearing from you is don't skip over the mindset stuff. Like don't rush into the numbers and the how-tos, but spend some time with the chapters that are the segments that you have on mindset, correct?
Yeah. And also, I use a lot of my stories and fellow investor stories just to say that, what you thought real estate could do for you in 10 years, 15 years, you can do in 3 years, 5 years. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you're working, if you have a family, or if you're like me, you're already starting late, it doesn't matter.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I think would be a good time to take a quick break, and we'll jump deeper into some of the topics of your book and some of the messages that you have.
Okay.
So we'll make sure if you're watching this video to join us for part two, Coach Roel with Brooke Shang, on my YouTube channel, Coach Roel. YouTube, actually, I don't know what the URL is, youtube.com/Coach Roel, and we'll continue our conversation with Brooke there. Thanks again for joining us here at Self Storage Investing. We really, really appreciate it. For more great content like this, make sure to click the subscribe button below this video. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Bigger Pockets. You can also visit us at our main website at selfstorageinvesting.com, where you'll find even more free content, our ebook, and registration to our free webinars and education courses, and much, much more. Once again, for more great content like this, please click the subscribe button below. Thank you.